Gemini, the zodiac sign, is never too far away from a vice. And there's a very good reason why. I'm an intuitive, I'm not an astrologer, so please don't tell me about your houses. This is not Monopoly. I only deal with planets. That's legit energy I can see when I do readings. Julle wat houses, half house, second house, third house. I don't play Monopoly. Where Gemini rocks up in predominant planet placements in your natal chart, you can always see how sensitive the air element introduces intuition, and where intuition is, there is sensitivity. But you mustn't understand sensitivity in an emotional context. It is more how the nervous system reacts to reality and impulses. So from how they hear things, see things, feel things, hyper. Why? Because Gemini is an air sign. Air, like water, is highly intuitive, which means just like those who have vices, every single one of those individuals, whether you call it your uncle, whether you call it a granny, there's a vice. And if they Gemini, you know that the vice is only there to contend with an understanding about their intuition that has not quite dropped. Because one thing that intuition cannot compete with, so it will rather sit recessed, is the masculine mind. Mind and masculinity go together. And Gemini is very much occupied in the crown chakra, pineal gland, throat chakra, thinking mind. So what a Gemini will go through is a predominance of intuitive experiences in their youth. And if they didn't grow up in a family where someone grounded their understanding of intuition, then you leave it up to the mind's imagination and analytical processes and scientific neurological, not frontal lobe. So everything will be, I must think about intuition, and intuition doesn't work with thinking. There's no space for intuition and thinking. It doesn't exist. You don't process the art of spirituality in your mind. It is an experiential experience in the gut. But that's the part of the Gemini that the experience of Gemini struggles with, which is to ground in the stomach, which means that things are a lot more slower, a lot more a different relationship with time. In the mind, time is quick and fast, and in the gut, it's as and when. It's really out of the blue. So with Gemini, you know for a fact you're dealing with an intuitive sign. So for the time being, whilst the Gemini is still trying to make sense of intuition, or in their heads, or they totally just suppress it, intuition will then start showing up in forms of vices in the Gemini. So whether that vice be through food and an overcompensation with food, whether that be through a drink, whether that be through whatever the vice, I always say intuitive people will rather be called an alcoholic than be called crazy. They'll rather be called a drunk than be called crazy. They'll rather be called a drug addict before they get called crazy. That I learned from a loved one who has passed on. This is someone on the other side of the veil. They've passed on. They literally told me, Gemini, I'll rather be called a drunk than be called crazy. And that is how they had to experience their intuition. But if they dare said it to the family, they will be called mad. And they didn't want to be called mad. A Gemini don't want to be called mad where their intuition is concerned, clairvoyancy is concerned, prophetic dreams is concerned, how much they see, how much they feel. This sign is hella intuitive. But whether it understands it within the capacity of intuition and how you need to adapt to intuition. You don't go to intuition thinking you're gonna have your ideas linked to you bend to intuition. You buckle to intuition. You have to play by intuition's rules. And the masculine mind, the prince of Gemini, the mercurial energy, it doesn't want to bow down to intuition. So it wants to think its way through it. It will want to fight its way through it, or it would want to suppress it through a vice. So where you see a Gemini, vices are never too far away. An addictive personality is never too far away. And when you see an addictive personality to something consistently, then you know the Gemini has a suppressed experience regarding their intuitive reality. And all air signs, Aquarius, Libra, exactly the same. Libra is never far away from a vice, and Aquarius is never far away from a vice. For as long as you got air, you have somewhere a vice. The vice only disappears when you can self-regulate, because you have dropped into your stomach, you've asked for help, you work with a teacher, you have come into the vulnerability of intuition, not the masculinity of it. Spirit is feminine, not masculine, not by any stretch of the imagination. So that normally happens with older Geminis, older Libras, older Aquariuses. But in the younger years, the vice will be there. They like what they like, and they stick to what they like. You can't tell them any other way. Until that is surrendered, that's when they can drop into the intuition. Healthier eating, broader perspective of life. The prince is finally humbled away from the bourgeoisie mentality. This is the Gemini's relationship with a vice. It's more prominent with male Geminis. It changes with feminine, so women who are Gemini. Women who are Gemini are a lot more susceptible, but that also differs pertaining to their relationship with their fathers. If the father was not present, then we can tell what type of deterministic Gemini you're going to become. They will be more masculine. But if there's a warmth relationship in nurturing, then that connection to intuition, the moment of a vice and then regulating through it becomes a lot more prominent, and they ground in their stomach. But the more prominent the vice, that's when you know, intuition is not really pumping purely through the body. So they're using the vice as an alternative to cope with what they haven't understood yet in the mind. I work with these people. Trust me. I've seen it in and out of the years I've been doing these readings and reading people. I myself, I know it because I am you and you are me. Gemini can't tell me shit.